change you at all?
Sure, it changed me dramatically. The biggest thing that I learned is that a lot of people feel lonely, feel like they don't have any power, no one listens to them, and no one cares about them. So in order to rebuild our country, we've got to remember that we need to love our neighbors, we love ourselves. This is not a hard thing to do. Just make sure you reach out to somebody else, and that will change the world.
Do you have any plans to repay the state for any security costs that you had?
No, we don't.
Do you think that you should?
No.
Are you considering withdrawing Howard Petrikoff's name after Senator Faber expressed doubts about?
No.
What about
The opiate problem
Hawk?
here.
Does that concern you that he hasn't been confirmed yet?
No.
The opiate problem here in Ohio and across the country. Talk about start talking and heroin.
Well, look, I mean, one of the things we want to do at this fair is we want people to know there's some place for them to go to check out jobs if they don't have them. And maybe there's one for them. And secondly, this vicious scourge of drug abuse. I mean, we know there's a 50% less likelihood that kids will use drugs if they hear that message. And we're working at it, but it's hard to get everybody to understand that just a few words can make a difference. We're partnering with local communities. It doesn't have to be our way, but we're going to use this fair, I hope, to communicate very directly to upwards of 1 million people who bring their kids, how important it is to talk to them. Because once you become an addict, you ask addicts, it's extremely hard to be able to overcome it. And frankly, once you're an addict, it's a struggle you will have all of your lifetime. So the best drug rehab is never to get into drugs. And so we're going to do everything we can. And it's not just a problem in Ohio, it's a problem all over America. And it's really tragic. Why does it happen? To some degree because people lose hope and they lose faith, some degree, in themselves. Not everybody. Some people, experimenting with drugs, getting hooked on pain pills because you had an injury or whatever. These are all things that contribute, but a large part of it is poverty, unemployment, hopelessness. That's what we have to address.
Governor, have you been watching the DNC, and what do you
I have
think
not.
so far?
I haven't. I was in New York for a couple days. I haven't seen it.
Do you have a response to Trump saying he'll run a super PAC against you if you ran again for office?
No.
You're helping out candidates like Rob Portman campaign for office. Do you feel like the top of the ticket helps or hurts him this year?
Well, I mean, with the top of the ticket definitely is an impact. We'll see. It's a ways to go. We have 99 days to go.
Any regrets that you didn't speak at the convention at the RNC?
Oh, no. Look, I mean, I think it would have been inappropriate, and people need to understand. It just would have, I don't think it would be appropriate for me to invade somebody else's party if I wasn't prepared to give an endorsement. And, I mean, the thing is, you have to always follow your conscience in politics, and if you don't, then you end up regretting. And, I have a message of unity that's pretty darn clear and pretty well defined, and I intend to continue with that message.
I heard you say you had about 13 hours of meetings in about a day and a half. Talk about that.
Well, I was just in New York meeting with publishers for a book I want to write, and we'll know.
What would the topic be?
It's going to be about my campaign and the country and the problems today and what happens tomorrow to get out of them.
So this would be solutions that you see for the
Well,
nation?
it's not just going to be about Ohio, but we'll talk. I don't know. It's when you written and I've written three of them. Books tend to write themselves, and they're organic in nature. I mean, what you think you're going to do today as you actually write the book is not necessarily what finally ends up on the pages. So it's a very interesting process. It's enjoyable, and you want to make sure you have a good publisher, good editors, and that you can get the book done the right way.
With several attacks on people, terrorist attacks, talk about your feelings as far as protecting the United States against those types of
Well, we
attacks.
have a joint terrorism task force, and the joint terrorism task force are made up of the federal government and also state and local. Their job is to root things out, and they do a lot. We don't hear a lot about their successes. The big challenge is the lone wolf, somebody that just wakes up one day and says they want to go into a place like Pulse. But as I look, and again, I'm convinced there is no thing that is a simple maybe in most cases there's no such thing as a lone wolf. Somebody suspects something, whether it's somebody in the family, whether it's a neighbor, whether it's a coworker. And I think a lot of times people are a little bit reluctant to say something when they're not sure. But I think it's going to be on all of us that if we see something that's really out of line, out of whack, we're going to have to talk to somebody in law enforcement. And I think they can feel comfortable. They can do it on a confidential basis. And law enforcement does a really good job of not overreacting. They do a very good job of being able to maintain confidentiality. And so that's what we have to pay attention to. You know, in the world, it's intelligence, which we don't have. We don't have it put together as well as we should. There's too many silos in too many countries over in Europe. And then the other element of this is it's time for the Christian leaders, the Jewish leaders, the Muslim leaders, the Hindu leaders to begin to communicate to the world that blowing up or shooting or killing innocent people is a ticket to hell, not a ticket to paradise.
Voters on each side of